Hi. Here, let me move some stuff. Hi, me. Sorry.
Hi, Mr. Kamin. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. So my name is Tiffany Aliche, but everybody knows me better as the Budgetnista. Um, actually, I came by that nickname because my sister used to tease me that I wasn't a fashionista, but I was pretty cheap, so she called me the Budgetnista. So it stuck. And so since then, for the last 10 years, I've helped over about 1 million women get and stay on financial track, and so that's what they all call me. So I reached out to the women that I serve, just trying to figure out what is it that they're wanting to know, because I know firsthand what it looks like to struggle financially during hard times. I lost my job during the 2008, 2009 recession. It was really
Yeah.
difficult. So one of the questions I have is that with all the federal programs that we have for like mortgage deferment in place, so there are a lot of people, including myself, including people in my family, who are worried. So what happens after that deferment expires? What if you still are not employed? What if you still don't have enough money to continue forward? What happens then?
Um, that's a really important question. And there are obviously millions and millions of Americans who are right now hurting, we have 10 million jobs lost as a result of this pandemic right now. And so we need significant support for families so they can continue to pay their bills, stay in their homes. So you're right that the COVID-19 pandemic has also specifically triggered a housing affordability crisis.
Mhm.
Over 10 million homeowners are right now behind on mortgage payments. There's tens of billions of dollars of unpaid rent right now as a result of people not being able to make their bills. And this puts millions of Americans at risk of foreclosure. It also puts them at risk of not being able to pay the rent. That's why, as the president is committed to continuing the eviction moratorium, continuing also the mortgage moratorium, or the mortgage forbearance, and matching that with billions of dollars to both go towards back rent and to make sure that we don't, when these end, and they're eventually, as this crisis hopefully ends, that, we will end up ending the emergency policies. But we need to make sure that people that people then don't get kicked out of their homes, which is why in the American Rescue Plan, for instance, there's a $10 billion for homeowners assistance. There's also tens of billions of dollars for to help pay back rent. And when you combine that with these policies, it means that families, when we get to the other side of this crisis, should hopefully be able to make ends meet. Obviously, that is combined with policies like finishing the job on providing each American with $2,000 direct payment, $1,400 on top of what was enacted in December. So we think all of that combined can help address the real challenges that you're discussing.
Okay, no, that's great, because I actually went through foreclosure, so I know how devastating that is. And actually, the house I ended up buying years later is a foreclosure. So it's good to know. I'm just assuming that those folks will be applying for those programs, and that's what that looks like.
Yeah.
So speaking about families, and you spoke about there's an additional $1,400 check coming. Are there any plans to continue this type of relief? Any more payments coming to families?
So the way that we're thinking about the rescue plan is as a bridge through the crisis, and also the investment we need in order to address the health crisis. Because of course, we're not going to be able to get out of the economic crisis until we actually address COVID.
Mhm.
So the policies then that are paired with that are ones that really are supposed to try to address the huge economic pain Americans are feeling. And so you're right, there's the direct payments, the additional $1,400, bringing it up to a $2,000 direct payment.
Mhm.
There's a continuation of unemployment insurance. There's an expansion of the child tax credit. Put all of it together, and it means child poverty is cut in half this year. Almost 12 million Americans would be lifted out of poverty. This is a first stage. The president made clear that once we address this crisis, he believes we need to move on from rescue to recovery. And that's why I think in the weeks and months ahead, once we get the rescue plan in place, once we are addressing the crisis, changing the course of COVID, and bridging across the crisis, the president is going to lay out his vision for the next stage, which is the investment in the economy. And as he has always put it on the campaign trail, building back better. Because before this crisis, there were deep inequities in the economy. There were real and desperate needs. And I think you're going to see the president put forward a plan to help address that.
Honestly, that sounds, I like hearing that, because one of the things I teach, I call my community dream catchers, is that you have to lay the financial foundation, which sounds like what we're in right now, before you can build a strong financial house, which is what I'm hoping that we're seeing moving forward. And then my last question is, so this came up a lot. How is the calculation of $15 an hour? How has that come up for minimum wage? Because there are so many people who are like, I'm not going to be able to survive off of $15 an hour. So I'm just curious, how is that calculation calculated? And is there consideration that they're just, for many people, that's just not going to be enough, not as an adult, navigating as an adult in adult financial spaces?
We agree that first, the minimum wage needs to increase. Mm-hmm. So the minimum wage, it's set in law, and Congress has not changed the law for more than 10 years. Mm-hmm. There's a real need to update it. And the president is also strongly believes that we need to increase it to $15 an hour. Mm-hmm. So the president's American Rescue Plan would have phased it in to $15 an hour by 2025. Unfortunately, the Senate parliamentarian determined that it could not go into the relief package. We are really disappointed in that outcome, but we're going to continue fighting for it. And he's going to work with congressional leaders to make that happen. But increasing the minimum wage alone, it would be an important accomplishment. It would be an important step forward. It is not sufficient for what the economy needs going forward and for what American workers need. That's why on the campaign trail, he laid out that vision of Build Back Better, of creating better jobs for Americans, because you're right. It's not just about job creation, it's about creating good jobs that pay more. And so I think you're going to see laid out a plan for investment in the economy, for creating good jobs, that's going to pair with an increase in the minimum wage to get Americans the kind of pay they deserve.
Okay. Well, those were my questions. I'm excited to see what this administration is going to do. As someone who has struggled through financial crisis and seen my way on the other side, I know that there are literally millions of American families that are struggling and hoping to see some relief, but actionable relief. And so it sounds like that's where we're headed. Hopefully so. Fingers crossed. Honestly, I can't wait to bring back your answers to my community. I know there's just so many unanswered questions, and to me, uncertainty and fear is what's really pervasive right now, and especially financial uncertainty. And so I'm just hoping we can get to a space where that's no longer an issue. So thank you.
I completely agree, and I really appreciate your taking the time. I was really excited to be able to join you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Tiffany. We'll say goodbye now, and we'll share out all of the content.
We should just a quick screenshot real quick. Can I take one? Is that okay?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. High five. It's all good with me.
All right. So you got smile. 1, 2, 3. All right. Got it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
All right. We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.